Hello everyone and welcome to another Rise of Kingdoms video. This is Dragothien here and today we're doing our Epic Archer installment for rank and roll. This is going to be a fun one. There's only two. You've got Herman and Kusunoki. We're going to go over them really quickly. And I got some insight into what exactly makes archers different. So, for the most part, majority of the game, Cavs and archers were basically looked at exactly the same way from a capability standpoint, with the exception of Cav being faster. Really what it boiled down to was they were both nuking skill damage style commanders. So if you wanted to do massive skill damage, you put either Cav or archers in the field and they will do exactly that. And really Cav took got ahead a little bit because they also moved fast. So they were fast archers. That's kind of the way people looked at it. But as you can see, with the new commanders that just came out, Artemisia and Ramses, and what I'm about to show you with these epic commanders, I think Lilith is really starting to differentiate archers in a particular way, and we're going to talk about that really quick. But before we do, again, if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, please do hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you see all these videos pop up almost every day, so you can keep up with the latest and greatest content on Rise of Kingdoms, all those good things. So let me jump into it. We've got two to talk about. I'm not going to throw in a third because there's just nothing generic that's close enough to an archer to warrant it. And then on top of that, I do want to do a mixed troop version of this for the commanders. There's tons of generic commanders in the game that deserve their own video. So that's what I'm going to do. Herman, right now, Herman's who we have up here. He's very particular in what he does, but he does it very well. So if we look at the first skill, not only is it 1150 damage factor, which is very dangerously close to being a legendary commander. There's actually legendary commanders that have lower damage factor than Herman, so he actually does more physical damage, skill damage I should say, than some legendary commanders. And he's got two cool little perks, and again, this is what I want to showcase on the Archer series. So decreases target's rage by 100. That's 10% of a skill going off on a commander. And in addition, it silences the target for 2 seconds. So again, they can't cast their main skill, and you make it cost 10% more basically to cast that skill. Or a better way to say it would be you need to recoup 10% of your 1,000 rage requirement, unless you're using Edward, to cast it. So really it's more than 2 seconds that you're silencing a target, because you're going to reduce the rage by 100 and you're going to silence them for 2 seconds too, which is going to delay those skills from going off. You're going to start seeing your skills go off a lot faster on Herman if you're doing a 1 versus 1. Now again, really solid skill damage, and this is what I want to point out with archers. Crowd control. They're doing a ton of crowd control. They're doing a ton of debuffing. They're doing things that are just different than the other commanders. Most of the other commanders have just raw damage, or they have things that are enhancing their speed. There are some crowd control style things in the other types of troop commanders, but archers in particular are really specializing in this kind of thing. And when you combine them together, they start to throw out some really serious debuffs and controlling of what you're doing and what you're attacking. So really strong first skill from Herman. Military Genius is also an archer attack bonus and march speed bonus, which is very good. Herman is a garrison commander, so this third skill does affect the watchtower attack and the garrison attack by 7%, which is very good. And then finally, again, an additional way for debuffing, or for buffing yourself. So normal attack damage increased by 10%, and then attacks have a 10% chance to grant an additional 100% rage. So further speeding up your firing of your skills while still simultaneously slowing down the speed of your enemy's skills going off. So very, very good. And again, the expertise enhances the damage of the first skill. So very, very good. This is exactly what you're going to see on the majority of the other archer commanders. They have buffs to their own ability to cast skills faster, and they have debuffs on the enemy to either reduce their capabilities of casting their skills faster, or again, just taking away rage altogether, or silencing them, or disabling them, or something. They're attacking your ability to really fire off your skills at a rapid rate. That's what archers do. And I think, again, with these latest two legendary commanders, Ramses and Artemisia, you can really kind of tell that that's the the play style they want for archers is just disablers and rapid fire skills. That's the plan. Now let's jump over to Kusunoki, and again, this is the other epic archer commander that you have available to you. I've maxed them both because they're both really good. I had a hard time doing the rank and roll part. The roll is pretty clear in my opinion, but the rank, that's what's going to be difficult. We're going to go to that after we go through Kusunoki, but it was tough. So let's go through Kusunoki really quick. The first skill, again, very similar to Herman in the way that it's structured. You have a 300 damage factor immediate, and then you have 2 ticks of additional damage factor, totaling 800 damage. Now, again, less damage than Kusunoki, but this is an AoE, so it has a maximum capability of 3 targets. So then you can combine the 800 times 3 if you're in an AoE situation, and now you're talking 2400 damage factor that you're pumping out every single time that you are firing off a skill. Now, I still use this on a big account, guys. I still use Kusunoki on a big account because of not only the AoE capability, but the first sentence in this skill: removes all negative and control effects from Kusunoki's troops or army. This is huge. There are so many debuffs in the game right now for defense, attack, health, damage reduction. You can't obviously remove a silence because you need to fire this skill off first to remove it, and you can't because you're silenced. But any other kind of debuff that you can get in the game from, everybody's got an Ethelfled for the most part, right? Belisarius, if you're unlucky enough to level that guy up. You've got Barca. There's so many debuffs in the game. So this is a quality commander to have. You need to pay attention to what these things do, because as you're starting to really target commanders in the field, you want to make sure that you're bringing the best counter to those commanders. So if you've got a Belisarius Belisarius Pelagius, or Pelagius Belisarius, you've got Nuke, you've got Rage, and you've got you've got debuff from Belisarius. You want to remove those debuffs right away. Kusunoki is a good way to do that. Now, you don't want to generally attack Cav, but if you're going to, this is not the worst in the world to have. So again, you want to have these things in mind. And of course, when you're going up against infantry, Richard has a pretty solid debuff. So does Charles. He has debuffs on his stuff. So, there's tons of different commanders that have debuffs that this would wipe out. You just wipe them all off, and it's like you're fresh and you're good to go. Kusunoki is also a garrison commander, and actually these two paired together are really good for an early governor trying to rank up their city and get built up. This is a good starting pair to defend your city with if you don't have a Max Charles or something like that. So something to definitely use. The counterattack damage bonus from Kusunoki here, combined with the garrison and watchtower bonuses that Herman provide, very, very good, and they work really well together. Positive stats that Kusunoki provides to the archer units, enhanced by from 10 to 15% the expertise. And then again, here's some additional damage. So normal attacks have a 10% chance to deal additional damage, and I see this fire off quite frequently. It's almost to the tune of a Mechmed style, where you see just skill damage going poop, 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 poop. It's almost like a fountain of skill damage numbers popping off above an enemy when all this fires off. And actually, Mechmed would be a good second to Kusunoki as well. You could really start seeing some craziness going off on a city or something. That'd be pretty interesting to see. But anyway, so an additional 450 damage factor. And again, you see additional damage factor all over this thing. That means you definitely want to use latent power for Kusunoki when all of your builds for Kusunoki, because all that's going to enhance both of these skill damages and really start to crank out the damage. So how do we rank these, right? I think we got a pretty clear role. The role is damage, debuff, crowd control. That's it. And again, anti-debuff, I think, is another good term here to use as well. Archers are really starting to fill that role. Cav, again, we went over before. Speed, skill damage, get in, get out if you want to. Of course, Attila and Takeda are a little different on that. They have their own little meta going on, but for the most part, Cav are built for massive skill damage and counter skill damage. Infantry, tanky, heals, that kind of thing. So we're getting to the archer part. I think that's what their role is going to be now and going forward, is that buff, debuff, counter buff and then also skill damage to boot. And a lot of them have movement speed bonuses as well, tacked into them, especially the legendary versions, which we will go over as we continue this series. So let's jump into the rank piece. Again, these guys are so equal. I had a hard time. Really, you can flip both of these, and put the comments in the comments below and tell me what you guys think. This can go either way. I did put Kusunoki primary just because of the raw damage and the fact that I do still use him in the end game, being a 100+ million player in certain circumstances, and I do use Herman a little bit as well in certain circumstances, but I use Kusunoki a little bit more because of his AoE. So AoE, especially in Ark of Osiris, in just open field battle in general, and even on my alt account in 307 that I use Kusunoki really well with YSG, a double AoE commander. They both enhance each other's damage, that kind of thing. It's very, very good. I rally with Kusunoki because he wipes all the debuffs off that I get from the garrison commanders. So I did Kusunoki first and then Herman second. Again, you could easily swap these around and be perfectly right in every regard. They both do what they're supposed to do really well for epic commanders, which is do skill damage, debuff or counter debuff, or silence the target, or wipe off any debuffs that you have on yourself. They do really well at all those things. So it's just a matter of the situation, which you want to actually use. Is how you really want to kind of rank them yourself. But you should max both of these guys. They are worthwhile. From a level 60 perspective, just pick the one that you think you're going to be using as primary the most. Go after that from a 60 perspective. But from a skill perspective, max them both. You're definitely going to want to have these in your toolbox for different situations in the game. I hope you guys have enjoyed this other edition of the Rank and Roll series, the Archer edition for epics. I'm going to do one more epic, maybe two. I'm going to do a mixed troop epic commander or a generic version commander guide, and then I'm also going to do a rallying version as well, because I know that some epic commanders want to be used as ralliers too. I'm also going to jump into the legendary version of this guide too, and that's where it's really going to start getting interesting, and I think people are going to start having some more heated opinions. So again, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I will see you guys next time. Cheers. Have a good one. Take care.